This is a reading for Sylvie, and she had a question regarding whether or not she should be moving or staying put to where they currently live. So for this reading, we'll be using the Gilded Tarot deck, and I'm using a spread called Choices, and it's an 11 card spread. So the first card, which is over here, represents the basis of the choice. The second one is why this choice is difficult. And the third one is the relative importance of the choice. Then we have card 4, 5, and 6. And these ones are the necessary steps to take or likely issues that may turn up by making choice number 1, which is to move. And then we have card number 7, and that's the likely outcome if this choice is made. So the likely outcome if they go ahead and move. Then we have card 8, 9, and 10. And these cards is the necessary steps to take and or likely issues that may turn up by making choice number 2, which is to stay put. And then we have card number 11, which is the likely outcome if choice 2 is made, so if they decide not to move. So before I get started, I'd like to start with a quick prayer. I call upon my angels and my guides to please be in communications with Sylvie's angels and guides. May you please provide a clear and an accurate reading. I also call upon Archangel Michael to please surround us in white light so that only divine messages may come through. Okay, so let's get started with this reading. And the first card that we got, and now this is the basis of the choice, and we've got the Hangman. The Hanging Man. Now, the Hanging Man is part of the major arcana, so tends to touch base on the issues in life that has like the biggest impact on our life. Now this card normally talks about suspension, restriction, letting go, and sacrifice. So the basis of the choice, when this kind of card comes up, is kind of telling me that the choices that you're making now, whether to move or not to move, kind of blindsided you a little bit. It wasn't necessarily something that you've been pondering or thinking. I think something came up that made this become an issue, right? It wasn't something that you planned, it's just something that's kind of happened. It was a little bit out of your control, and now you have that choice to make. The second card that we have is why this choice is difficult. And for this card, you've got the Star. Now, Star talks about hope, spirituality, renewal, inspiration, serenity. What this is telling me, this is a little bit of a difficult situation right now because like the Star is a pretty positive card, kind of talks about how things are good, or and I think it's kind of coming up as a bit of a difficult choices for you because things have been good. You know, this isn't a choice to fix a problem. This is a choice that's come up that wasn't something you were planning on doing, and you're careful of disrupting what was happening because things were good. The next card that we have is the relative importance of the choice. And for this card, you've got the 7 of Wands reverse. Now this one is part of the minor arcana, so far it's been major arcana. So that's kind of telling me, because there were major arcanas, this choice was meant to cross your path. It's part of one of your major life path. But so this card's the minor arcana, and it's the Wands. Wand tends to talk about desires and actions. And in this case, you have the 7 of Choice reversed, and 7 of Wands reversed, and it's saying giving up, overwhelmed, overly protective. So it's kind of you're feeling a little bit overwhelmed with all this, and this is a bit of a difficult choice for you, or you're kind of putting a lot of importance into making this choice because you're really careful, or you're really concerned about kind of protecting the well-being of your family, right? You're being a little bit overprotective as to how this choice is going to impact everybody in your family. And that's kind of what's happening a little bit with this one here. So now I've divided this into two options here. So the first one that we're going to look at is if you do decide to go ahead and do that move. So the next three cards are going to represent the necessary step to take and or likely issues that may turn up by making the choice of moving. And for the next three cards that you got is you have the Magician, the Ace of Cups reversed, and Temperance reversed. Now, two of those cards are part of the major arcana. So the first one we got here is the Magician. Now, the Magician talks about power, skills, concentration, action, resourcefulness. Basically, what this card is saying is this isn't actually a really powerful card. It's kind of saying you've got everything that you need to make this happen. You're in the right place for this, basically, right? You've got all the resources that you need, all the skills that you need. You're prepared, right? Like this is, if you decide to go ahead and do this move, you're prepared to do this. You've got all the skills and all that you need to be able to kind of go ahead and do this choice. The next one that we have is the Ace of Cups reversed. So now the Ace of Cups talks about, Cups talks about emotions. It's one of the minor arcana. And the Aces often talks about kind of a beginning, but because it's in a reverse situation, it's talking about blocked or repressed emotions. You're not sure how you feel about this move, and you're kind of concerned that this will kind of create a little bit of emotional stress for the family as well. And this kind of is coming up, and that may come up when you kind of, if you do go ahead and do this move, you may have those fear come up, right? And you'll have to deal with that. But keep in mind with the Magician, like you've got everything you need to kind of make this happen. But you will still have those doubt and concern about the emotional well-being of everybody involved. The next card that we have is Temperance reversed, another major arcana here. And this one talks about, in this reverse situation, talks about imbalance, excess, lack of long-term vision. So what this kind of telling me, like with the Magician, the Ace of Cups, and Temperance, so it's kind of telling me like you've got everything you need to make this move successfully, but you are concerned about the emotional well-being of everybody, and that those fear is a little bit short-term. You're kind of thinking really short-term worries here, as opposed to concentrating on the big picture, the long-term goals. You're kind of concerned about how that's going to affect everybody immediately, but you're not thinking about, or not, make sure that you think about how it's going to affect everybody in the long term. You're kind of concerned too much on the short term right now. Now for the outcome for go ahead and doing that move, you've got the Six of Wands. So the Six of Wands, again, Wands talks about desires and action. And the Six of Wands talks about public recognition, victory, progress, self-confidence. So if you do go ahead and decide to do this move, things are going to work out. Like things are going to be good. It's going to work out. And you're going to feel good about your decision as well. Now let's have a look at if you decide not to move and to stay put. Now the steps and issues that may arise on that, we've got three cards here. So we have the Six of Pentacles, we have the Ace of Wands, and then we have the Tower reversed. So now the Six of Pentacles, now Pentacles against the minor arcana, and then the Pentacles tend to talk about resources. Now that can be money, finances. I'm not sure if the reason to move is for work related, and that kind of could make sense as well. So with the Six of Pentacles, this one here talks about generosity, charity, giving, perspective, sharing wealth. So it looks like if you decide not to move, financially things will still kind of be good. Maybe you're going to be giving up on an opportunity, but somebody else would take advantage of that. So the next one that we have is the Ace of Wands. Wands again is desires and action. And for this one here, we get inspiration, power, creation, beginning of and potential. So if you go ahead and stay put, you don't move, you may lose out on the opportunity, but it seems like, you know, something else is going to come up here. Like it's going to be, you're going to be working on something different. And then the final card we have on here is the Tower reversed. Now the Tower can be a very powerful card, and sometimes it's a little bit of a worrisome card to see, but in this case it is in the reverse situation. So in the reverse situation, it's avoidance of disaster and fear of change. So this is kind of saying, if you decide to stay put, you may lose out on some opportunities, but things are still going to be okay. You're going to feel like if you make this decision, it's going to be a decision of avoidance. It's kind of a fear-based decision. You're kind of worried about what the moving could do, so that out of that fear, you decided not to move. And it's the fear of change that's going to make you stay put. That's the fear of change that's making you consider not taking the move, right? So, and then the outcome, if you do decide to stay put, we have the Ten of Sword reversed. Now, Ten of Sword can be a pretty negative card, but then again, in this case, it is in the reverse position. So it talks about release from pain, light at the end of the tunnel, new beginning. So what this is telling me is, if you decide not to move. Now, this is definitely a fear-based decision. You will miss out on some opportunities, but in the end, things would still end up being okay. You're gonna dwell a little bit on what ifs. What if I would have done? What if I would have done? So gone, and what would have happened? And so, to me, it's kind of, I think rationally, you kind of understand that probably the move would be better, but you're concerned on the well-being of the entire family, and the fear of change is holding you back. Now, when we looked at your cards, the major arcana cards that you got that were pulled are on the side of go ahead and do that move, right? So it sounds like maybe the path is kind of pushing you more towards doing that move, but you're holding back a little bit because you're kind of concerned about all the changes coming up, and you're just, it's making you a little bit fearful. But we do know that if you do go ahead and change, there might be a little bit of emotional instability while you kind of reposition yourself in the new place, but things are going to work out. It's going to be a good move for you anyways. Well, Sylvie, I hope that this reading helps you with the decision you're faced with. Have a blessed day.